Hi everybody! I know I'm not like very frequent at uploading these full-length videos to YouTube. I try and upload shorts in between so that you can still see what I'm up to. But these full-length ones I don't do very often for a few reasons. But in this video I'm going to be telling you 10 facts about pandas, not the animal, a condition which I've only recently been diagnosed with, but I've had it for a long time. So I'm going to be telling you 10 facts about it so that by the end of the video you'll know all about it. Oh, also, I have pink hair. And I just want to say very quickly before I tell you fact number 1 that my tics are very calm today. So before any of you think about commenting, oh, she's not ticking in this video, she's faking, I'm just calm today. Most of my comments are lovely, but I do get at least 2 of those comments on videos where I'm not ticking very much, so please bear that in mind, that tics are different every day, the severity of them changes, so please keep that in mind. But let's start. Number 1, PANDAS stands for, you ready for this? Because it's quite a mouthful. Pediatric autoimmune neuropsychiatric disorder associated with strep. Catchy, huh? Number 2, PANDAS is a autoimmune disease, meaning that it's the way that the immune system reacts to an infection. So PANDAS specifically, obviously it's got the A and the S on the end associated with strep. So PANDAS obviously comes from specifically a strep infection. But then of course there's PANS, which is basically the same as PANDAS, but it's caused by anything. It could be a simple cold, an ear infection, mold, sometimes it's environmental triggers. But just to explain a little bit more about what actually happens when you have PANDAS, so basically PANS, you get an infection. Remember, PANDAS is specifically strep, but PANS is any infection. And of course when we have an infection, our body tries to attack the infection and fight it off. But in PANS, the body attacks the basal ganglia by mistake, which is a part of the brain, which inflames the basal ganglia and causes all of these symptoms: tics, OCD, restrictive eating, or just like... So with me, I don't know if it is classed as restrictive eating, but I'm more very extremely fussy. So like I used to eat a whole wide variety of food, but now I feel like in the world of food my world has shrunk and I eat like the same thing over and over again. And then you get like hallucinations, seizures, dissociation disorders, mutism, rage attacks, rage episodes, personality changes, changes in character. I mean, the list is just endless. Number 3, 1 in 200 children have PANDAS, which if you think about it is really not that rare. And then that's not even including all of the children or teenagers or adults that are undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. And yes, I don't actually have this listed as a fact number, but it's so important. Adults can have PANDAS or PANS too. It's obviously got pediatric at the very beginning because it is mostly seen in children, it's most common in children, but there are adult cases out there, they're just not as talked about and not as common. I mean, I'm 22 and I have PANDAS. I think that's why they're trying to change the name to BGE, which is basal ganglia encephalitis, because it's sort of more inclusive of all ages. Number 4, not actually that many doctors know about PANDAS or PANS. I mean, when I first went to, so the very first appointment that I had to try and look into PANDAS, PANS, I went to my GP with my mum and we brought it up there. And he literally turned around on his chair and started Googling PANDAS, PANS on his computer right in front of me and my mum. And I was like, this is bad. This is a bad sign. The NHS, they don't recognize PANDAS PANS. They don't, I mean, it's really awful to say, but actually some doctors and professionals don't believe in PANDAS PANS, which means that they don't get any training on it, which means that it's so much harder to get a diagnosis. We had to go private, and it's so much money, but it's so worth it. Number 5, PANDAS and PANS is almost always misdiagnosed. So you could go to anyone that is now diagnosed with PANDAS or PANS, and I guarantee you they will have had at least one misdiagnosis. It's just every single case there will have been a misdiagnosis. So for me it was FND, it was the main misdiagnosis, I would say. And then there was like diagnoses on the side which were actually all symptoms of PANDAS PANS, so I'm not sure if that counts as a misdiagnosis, but so derealization disorder, depersonalization disorder, OCD, non-epileptic attack disorder, selective mutism. Okay, there was a lot actually. I just can't think of them. Paranoia. I was diagnosed with paranoia, and it turned out to be a symptom of PANDAS and PANS. PANDAS, sorry, I'm diagnosed with PANDAS. But other things that children are often misdiagnosed with when they actually have PANDAS or PANS is sometimes autism, OCD, some sort of like rage or anger disorder, Tourette's. Sometimes people are misdiagnosed with Tourette's, ADHD, anxiety, depression. I mean, there's so many. Some people are even misdiagnosed as like schizophrenic or other sort of disorders like that, because with PANDAS PANS you can get psychosis symptoms. So I had hallucinations, delusions, very severe delusions. It's honestly scary. Every symptom of PANDAS and PANS is also a symptom of something else, if that makes sense. So PANDAS PANS can mimic so many different disorders, which leads to hundreds of people being wrongly diagnosed. Number 6, if PANDAS or PANS is left untreated, it can become a chronic autoimmune condition, which is what happened to me because I was wrongly diagnosed and untreated for like 7.5 years. The earlier on that a child or teen or adult is diagnosed with PANDAS and PANS, the easier it is to treat and like the better results that they will have. I've had seizures since 2016, and I've had some amazing results from the PANDAS and PANDAS medication. So the first trial of medication I didn't have any seizures for 3 weeks, which was fantastic. This round of medication, I'm having some sort of like complex absent seizures here and there, but nothing major. And then just some other symptoms are still hanging around. But yeah, I was told that because it has been so long, because I've had this for so long and I've been untreated and I mean medically neglected really, that it is harder to treat and it is chronic, unfortunately. So the earlier on that you catch it, the better. Fact number 7, I cannot stress this one enough, it is not always overnight. And what I mean by that is PANDAS and PANS is classically known for the sudden overnight symptoms. So I feel like this is more common in children where they've been sick with a cold or some sort of infection, and you know the parents don't really think anything of it, and then the next day they're a totally different child is what sort of, it's almost like the iconic line for PANDAS and PANS, because nearly all parents say that, you know, they woke up one day and it was like having a different child in the house. That's what PANDAS is known for, but it's not always the case. I mean, mine wasn't suddenly overnight. I was totally different. I mean, yes, some of the symptoms were sudden, but it wasn't everything all at once. All my symptoms were spread out over 7.5 years. A lot of kids suddenly wake up with really severe OCD, separation anxiety, they don't want to go to school, they don't want to leave the house, they suddenly don't want to eat, whereas with me it wasn't like that, and it's not like that for every case. And so I think it's really important to know that, like, sometimes I feel as if I don't sort of fit into a PANDAS diagnosis because I wasn't like suddenly drastic overnight. But I think it's really important to know that you're still very, very valid if you weren't suddenly overnight changing. It doesn't make it any worse or any more less severe than other people's. I don't know if I worded that right. Hi! So for me, some of it did seem to come out of nowhere. When I was in college in 2016 and 17, I had strange little OCD behaviours like tapping things. But it was very, very mild. It was just like something that I thought was just like a little quirky behaviour, I guess. And then really suddenly, just this year, my OCD went really, really high during one of my flares. I couldn't even walk down the stairs without doing some sort of ritual. I didn't like anything touching my legs. It was just really, it was nasty, and I felt really uncomfortable all the time. So that OCD seemed to come out of nowhere. The big flare that I had in 2022, the beginning of the year, my seizures were just like boom, they were there and then they didn't go away, and it was really sudden and really severe. But so much of it was just like progressing. I shouldn't have said it so many times. Hey! And then we got to where we are today. Okay, this is a cool one. This is a very educational about the background of PANDAS and PANS. So this is fact number 8. And the association between a strep infection and abnormal movements was first made in 1802. When they say abnormal movements, I wasn't quite clear. I mean, I assume this means like involuntary movements, like tics, like jerky movements, I assume is what they mean. And 1802, that's such a long time ago. But this takes me on to fact number 9. However, this wasn't when PANDAS was first discovered or first given a name. PANDAS was first given a name in 1998 by a doctor called Susan Swedo. I hope I said her last name right. So for PANDAS to be given a name in 1998, that's not actually that long ago. And even more recently, in 2012, that's really not that long ago, they gave PANS a name. So I think they discovered that all these symptoms were happening in children and they hadn't had a strep infection, they'd had a different kind of infection, and that's where PANS was given. So although it's been around for a while, it actually having a name hasn't really been around that long. And finally, number 10. How is PANDAS treated? I will tell you. So PANDAS PANS is treated with antibiotics, steroids, because obviously both of those will target the infection and reduce the symptoms, anti-inflammatories as well to reduce the brain inflammation, obviously, and in more severe cases there's IVIG. I'm not fully knowledgeable on, so I won't talk too much about it, and also plasmapheresis, which has been mentioned as an option for me if I need it. That was approved, so that's really cool. So basically plasmapheresis I will tell you about because I know about it, whereas IVIG I don't know as much. But plasmapheresis, basically they will take out some of my blood, clean it and, you know, filter it basically. They get rid of all the bad antibodies that are in there and then they put it back in. So they're putting in nice clean blood into my body. Like, how cool is that? That is so cool. Medical science is just amazing. At the moment, I do have fairly good results from antibiotics and steroids. It definitely reduces my seizures. I honestly can't remember my last severe seizure. I haven't had any issues with my mobility, so when I'm on antibiotics or steroids, I don't have any dystonia, I don't have any trouble walking, I don't have any catatonia. So like physically, like in my body, it has such a good effect. I still have some mental symptoms which aren't so nice. Sometimes it's really good and then sometimes it's not so good. It's not like a magic pill, it's not going to cure me, it's treatment, and I do see improvement. But it's nice to know that plasmapheresis is there if I need it. And there you go, that is 10 facts about PANDAS, PANS. I feel like this is very educational, so I hope you now all feel like you know quite a lot about PANDAS, PANS. If you have any more questions, just feel free to comment and I'll just reply to your comment and tell you what you want to know, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Haha.